So I wanted to talk today a little bit more about common mistakes that are made, the psychology in trading, and really how to focus your attention into the most important aspects of trading. And I really believe that there's one factor, only one, that differentiates the profitable trader from the unprofitable trader. And it comes back to psychology. It comes back to the way that you handle the markets. So, yes, understanding technical analysis can be helpful. Yes, understanding the fundamentals of the market can be helpful. But people put too much attention on that, and they don't understand that really the way to make money is to make the hard decisions. It's to do the hard things. It's to, take the trades that everybody else feels afraid of that are working. And so it's, having a game plan. It's all these things that we're going to talk about today. And we want to help you to avoid those common mistakes. So first mistake, trading without a plan. If there's one thing that we want you to do, it's to put things down in a plan to help you protect yourself from yourself, right? So we're going to talk a lot about psychology today. The psychology of the markets that causes you to make bad decisions at the wrong times. Well, if you'll put it in your trading plan, you can put protective measures in there. In essence, you can put in protective measures like, well, here's how I'm going to use my stop losses. Here's when I'm going to raise a stop loss. Here's how I'm going to handle the markets. So it basically defines every aspect of your trade so that your emotions don't get you in trouble, right? And we'll talk about what some of those mistakes are that cause your emotions to get you in trouble, such as forming an opinion. And more than forming an opinion, it's okay to have an opinion, but people get locked into that opinion. I've seen this happen literally hundreds of times. I used to work on Wall Street, and I've worked with traders from a risk management standpoint, and I've always noticed that when they're losing money, they try to find justification for their actions. So they buy, let's say, a stock. They'll go and try and find data points. If it's going against them, they'll try and find justification for staying in the trade. Well, Kramer likes it. Well, it's a great American business. Well, it pays a dividend. They'll just make up excuses for staying in it. Whereas if the trade was working, they'd have sold it a long time ago. And kind of a funny story on this point, I used to work with a trader, and he would get into a position and he'd be like, we'd be talking on the phone, and he'd say, I really think their China sales are going to be robust, and they've got huge growth potential for the next 3 or 4 years. And then you'd hear ding, and he sold the position. Why'd he sell it? Because it went a little bit up. And I'm like, your reasoning for buying this were all long dated, all long term. Oh, it's got great fundamentals. It's going to set the world on fire. And you sold it 15 minutes later because it spiked in your favor. You see how that is illogical, right? It just doesn't make sense. So don't get locked into an opinion, and then also consider whether that opinion even matters for the time frame you're trading. Poor risk management will destroy you. Position sizing, buying the right amount, not risking too much of your capital per trade, critical. Cutting profits short and letting losers run. This is, again, the one factor that I always come back to. It always comes back to, essentially, people letting their losses get too big and cutting their winners too small. And that's why everything that we talk about really comes back to this one point. That everything you do, if you don't have a plan, then emotionally you're just going to sell your profits too quick and you're going to hold your losers too long. It's been proven. If you form an opinion that you can't get away from, that now it's personal, now it's a part of you, you are bearish on the market and it keeps going up, now you take it personally. You can't change your opinion, well, you're going to let those losers pile up. poor risk management, position sizing, you're going to take too big a loss when you let those losers run. So impatience, another common mistake, not waiting for the right setups. Fearful reactions to short-term moves. There's a difference between a trending move and choppy trading. We need to be able to identify the differences. Unrealistic expectations, feeling like, well, I'm going to start with $1,000 and I'm going to turn it into $1,000,000 overnight. No, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to turn that into $1,000,000 over time. Lack of diversification, so make sure that you're not all piled into the same positions and in all of your capital. So if everything you have is shorting the euro, there's no real diversification there. You have everything on the same trade essentially. Trading against the trend, so many people want to predict trend changes. They want to predict when markets are turning, and they lose sight of the fact that, working with the trend, being on the side of the trend will pay off more times than trying to bet against it. It's the easier trade to take. There's just no doubt about that. Timing tops and bottoms, same thing. Trying to pick the tops and the bottoms is trading against the trend. Focusing too much on being right. It's not about being right, it's about making money. And that comes back to being able to get away from opinions you have. The most stubborn individuals that have to be right every time, they're horrible traders because they get caught into this trap of holding their losers because they think they need to prove this right over time, and eventually they'll get annihilated. So how do we overcome that? Well, a man should never be ashamed to say he's been wrong, which is but saying, in other words, that he is wiser today than he was yesterday. If you take 100 trades, how are you possibly going to believe that you're going to be right on every single one of those? That every one is going to be a perfect entry point and so on and so forth? You're not going to be. Just like if you start 100 businesses, not all of them are going to work out. Which ones do you want to keep? If you start 100 new businesses, you want to keep the profitable ones and shut down the businesses that are unprofitable. It's pretty obvious, right? We want the ones that are growing, expanding, that are showing promise. The ones that just aren't working, people don't want it, they don't want that product, whatever it is, we shut those businesses down. And trading's the same way. If I take 100 trades and let's say that 60 of them start off with a profit, 40 of them start off with a loss, I'd much rather dump the losers and try to cultivate and grow those winners. How illogical would it be? I call it cutting your flowers and growing your weeds. How illogical would it be for you to walk outside your front door with a pair of scissors and you go over there and you walk to the flowers and you just start cutting them up? And then you just let the weeds grow and grow and grow. Why? Because you took it personal that the weeds didn't go away on their own. That's kind of trading with bad positions. You're holding on to your weeds. And if you have a good trade and you hurry and sell it too quickly, you're just cutting off your flowers before they bloom. And so changing that mindset is the entire focus of this class. So how do we overcome it? Beware of your tendencies, your habits, and your biases. I promise you that 99% of you at least have these tendencies, these habits, and these biases because you're a human being. So it's possible that some of you don't have these tendencies, but it's very unlikely. It is just human nature, and that's okay. We're all built with these tendencies, these habits, and these biases, so we all have to do the same things to overcome them, which starts with developing a strong trading plan and then morphs into following that plan. You have to follow the rules you set. If you don't do that, well, then your plan can't protect you. If you follow the plan, then it will protect you from yourself.